Here on Drunk Talk TV, very busy month of May. Not just a lot of first-time offenders and a really wide range of genres of music, which is what we're all about. And today, I'm so pleased and excited and honored to welcome Alexis Von Kraven, aka Skullhead, a metal master. Welcome. How are you, brother?
I'm doing really good, thank you. How about you?
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us all the way from
My
the
pleasure.
lower rim of the Great White North in Toronto, or Tirana, I guess we could say. And for those of you
Toronto.
not, yeah, for those of you not familiar with Alexis, he plays with metal bands Operus and Warmachine. He's been with a lot of other really cool metal bands, Turbulence, Exorcism, Black Raven, so many more. But he's also Banger TV's Shreddle of Metal, Shredder of Metal 3, the Drummers Edition, and he also partnered with Pearl Drums. That was back in 2020. You know what, Alexis? I want to start out by showing people a video that you entered for that. So we're going to start with that real quick. Check this out, and Alexis and I will be right back. I have so many questions just from watching that snippet. And the first thing is this, because people have asked me this about you, and because they know I'm going to have you on, and I said, I don't know. I'll ask them on the show. In, what was it, 2013, you began wearing the skull mask. Tell
That's
the
correct.
story about that.
It was pretty much an accident. I'll be really honest with you. We
Really?
were preparing. I was playing with MOXY at the time, classic rock band from Canada and whatnot,
Yeah.
and we decided to film a live DVD. And at that show, I had my drum solo section, and my drum tech convinced me to wear a skull mask that I had from a Halloween. You know, I had it there at the studio, and he told me, "Why didn't you wear it?" I said, "Nah, nah, don't worry about it. Like it's so cool, blah blah blah." So he took it, packed it in my stuff. I was at the show, and right before the solo, he passed it to me, and I was like, "Why not? Right? We're here." So actually, the video from that drum solo went viral. And at the beginning, you can see me adjusting the mask from him and I saying, "Hey, let's just do it, right?"
Oh, that's
Wore it
cool.
and became a trademark. And
Yeah.
that's how the first mask started.
Wow. And so what iteration is this? How many have there been?
This is the third mask that I've worn, but it's the second custom made mask.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. And Steven is chiming in and reminding me that we need to be on screen for there to be sound. I'm going to play some of that clip again with a different screen configuration. Check this out, folks. Sorry about that. I'm new here. Hello, I'm new here. Check this out. All right, here we go. And let's put us there. There we go. so many cool things going on there. I mean, between the polyrhythms, the sounds, and the smoothness of the fills and everything. I guess the first question I want to ask about your playing is, did you spend a lot of time practicing with a metronome? Because your timing's great. And I'm one of those guys where I've never dove into the double pedal work. I have a double pedal. I've had one for maybe the last few years that I use just for certain fills, but I never put in the work to get that down. And your timing is impeccable. How did you develop your timing?
I'm all about stories here, so we can go 2 hours in this interview.
Okay.
And I remember exactly when I had to start working with a metronome. Um, I started my session career very early in my life because of a great friend of mine back home in Mexico. He had a pop band, and he saw me with a happy punk band, kind of like Blink 182 at the time. I was probably around 13, 14, right?
Oh,
And he invited me to record in his album, and it was a rock pop song. So being that young, and of course being young, sometimes it's also being cocky and a little ignorant, right? So I thought I was on top of
those
my
two
game.
go together, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you don't live, you don't learn, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I show up at the studio thinking that I'm this amazing drummer, and I knew the song, and to me it was an easy song. So when I sit behind the drums, I remember I was sitting on the drums in the live room, and then I see the control room, and that was my first professional recording. So my dad, who was always a big supporter of mine, I invited him to watch that recording. So I see my dad, the producer, and the band, right? They were older than me for a few years. So they sit me there, start the track, starts the click, and I'm all over the place. The producer's like, okay, here we go again. All over the place again. I I wasted probably 2 hours of studio time trying to play a simple pattern with the click. And I felt terrible. I was so ashamed of myself. And my friend came into the live room and he said, listen, it's all good and fine. Go home and practice the song, and tomorrow you're going to track it. Okay? Just go home. Don't worry about it. I went back home. My dad, he was a drummer as well. He was a jazz drummer mostly, and also a heavy hitter for rock. But he
Cool.
never played with a metronome. So for him, he's like, yep. For him, it looked easy, right? And he was telling me, listen, go practice, and tomorrow you'll go back. I'm not going to come with you because he also was the only person in the world who can get me nervous while I was playing, right? So he said, I'm not coming with you tomorrow. Go practice, and tomorrow's going to be another day. And I did exactly that. Sat down, and all night I was just doing rudiments, practicing with metronome, metronome, metronome. Went back, recorded the song. I think I did 3 takes and recorded the song. And since that day on, the metronome and I have been always one.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who are some of your double pedal influences?
Oof. Um, from Cozy Powell to Achilles Priester to Lars Ulrich, even though people don't give him the credit that I do, right?
Yeah.
To I mean, even there's some Latin drummers that they play Latin jazz that they use double kick, right? So the list is so wide, but I guess the most popular ones are also the ones that influenced me: Virgil Donati, Thomas Lang, right?
Yeah. Big mix there. Who was your first influence? Was it your father?
Yes,
And
it
did you
was.
start playing jazz, Alexis?
I'm sorry.
Did you start off playing jazz?
No, I started playing Appetite for Destruction.
Oh,
That's the first album that I try to play because my dad at the time when I started playing drums, I was 3, and he was playing with his band. They were playing Zeppelin and they were playing Purple and all that. And he got the appetite, and I listened to Rocket Queen, and I loved the pattern. It was that song for me. It was that pattern, right? So sat down. He allowed me to play his drums. So any chance I had, play the album, try to play the pattern, and that's how I started. So big influence at first was Steven Adler and Matt Sorum.
Nice. And did you take lessons from your dad, take lessons elsewhere, or mostly self-taught?
My my dad tried to teach me, but I've heard it so many times, right? Probably when I have my kids, probably I'm not gonna be their teacher, because that is just a recipe for disaster in my experience.
Yeah.
So my dad tried to teach me. He would give me exercises, rudiments, and then as homework I would try to practice them, and then he would come back from work and sat with me, and that was a chaos. So he got mad at me once because my dad always encouraged me, and again it's different times, and his way of encouraging was very different than now, right? So he would tell me, probably I'm going to get you to do something else. This is not yours, right? This is not your thing. And one time I remember that, I got a little mad at him, and I said, probably you don't know how to teach.
How'd that go?
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, send me with another teacher. And that teacher, even though now I can see that he wasn't very, very good at it, but he was a great teacher, right? So I started drum lessons probably by the age of 6.
Okay, cool. That's great. And Steve's chiming in. Steve, you're all over the place. I know you're busy and you're still watching and chiming. I appreciate that. Steve says, it's got to take a lot of skill to play with a mask like that. I've had a scarecrow mask from a Halloween store, and it was tough enough to see in. So, yeah, let's talk about that. How well can you see out of that?
With this mask, which again is the second custom mask, it's easy.
Okay.
Because again, it's made to my face and my requirements, right? But that mask that I'm playing in the video that you just played, that's the first custom made mask, and I made it.
Oh.
So it was a mess to glue it on, because that's a foam prosthetic.
Right.
So it takes 2 hours to glue it on. And then you can't really breathe very well. You can't really see very well, right? So it's not comfortable. It is not comfortable at all. But branding is king, right? So
that's great. I want to show another video. This is basically your main Alex Von Kraven promo video. Check this out, folks. Pretty cool. I love that. So I have a question, because I've seen you with so many different setups. They're all cool setups, not just set up to look cool, but you actually use everything. And I could see that it's actually pretty ergonomic for your body type, your reach, how you play. With these different setups, do you have a different setup depending on whether you're playing with Operus or Warmachine or Exorcism or Black Raven, or do you just like to experiment with different setups? Is it more driven by your curiosity and creativity, or by what the music commands?
it's a tricky question, because if it all depends for live, it depends on where do we play. If the backline is provided, whatever is available, I adapt.
Yes.
Right? If we're taking the equipment, then yes, I go and I play with what I want to play. Right?
Yeah.
My favorite setup is the one with the three bass drums. Uh, Again, being influenced by early Mike Mangini, and then he went to Dream Theater and the whole symmetrical setup. It
Right.
was an idea that I toyed with, and it worked, and I loved it because it actually makes a lot of sense when you're trying to go not only fast but musically down your tones, right?
Yeah.
So I really dug it. Um, the middle bass drum, it can be used as a gimmick, or it can actually be used with a Schliemann or a what's the other pedal, the offset, right?
Yep.
So not that I really use it, because for metal I need the big punchy bass drums,
Yeah. Deeper
but
tone.
again, it's a show business, right? So it's a pain in the ass to haul, and that and the mask have been two of my worst ideas ever that people love. So I gotta stick to them, right? You gotta commit.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you talked about some of your earlier influences, and well, before we go on to what my question was going to be about, maybe newer, more contemporary influences, you mentioned Lars, and in my interview with Nick Virgilio, can barely talk at this time of day, he mentioned Lars as well, and I brought up the fact that yeah, I just don't understand why people hate on the guy. Like I don't understand the concept of hating on another drummer for any reason. Like, so you don't like their hair, you don't like their fashion, you don't like how they set up, you don't like how they hold it. Like, so what? If you weren't watching and you just listen to the music, no one sells those kind of albums and stays with that kind of band if they suck. So I don't understand that. Um, what's your deep take on Lars, and what are some of the things about his playing that you admire that keeps you a loyal fan?
I guess it has to do, again, I'm all about stories. It has to do because I remember the day that and again, my dad, it was the reason why I do music, because when I was a kid, instead of having cartoons on a Sunday or Saturday morning, I would sit with my dad. He would be, I don't know, changing clothes or preparing for the day, and I would sit with him in his room, and he was always watching a live performance. So from Purple to Sabbath to, again, many bands, I remember the time where I was sitting down and he was playing the Moscow show, Metallica in '91, right? With Pantera and all that. But the moment that Metallica starts the show with their intro tune, and then they start playing Enter Sandman and then Creeping Death, I remember I said, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna play drums. I want to be a professional. I want to play live. I want to play for millions of people. I don't know how am I gonna do it, but that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that maybe he isn't or wasn't as you know technical as other drummers, but the way he would look, the way he would perform, it was just mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
I was too young for their Black Album tour. Even I didn't get to
Uh-huh.
see them, right? But I know many friends that did, and you know that is rock history right there, and that's why I'm a huge Lars fan, right? And I hope that one day I get to meet him and just say, hey man, because of you, I'm doing this.
Yeah, that's cool. That moment where you know it's what you want to do and you never forget who that is. I had a similar situation where I was already playing drums for 7 years, but I didn't know that that was going to be my destiny. I just enjoyed playing drums. I played in the Tuesday night jazz band in middle school. I played in concert band and orchestra first chair drummer. I loved playing the timpanis instead of the snare drum. It always drove the director crazy because the first chair drummer is supposed to play snare, right? And
Mhm.
then my dad took me to see Led Zeppelin. And by the third song, and I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes, I've told this story so many times, but by the third song, it occurred to me like, oh, this could be a career path. And I wanted to be the next Jacques Cousteau. I wanted to be an oceanographer before that. So after a couple of days later, when the hearing came back, I told my parents I don't want to be an oceanographer anymore. I told my mom I told them I want to be a professional drummer like John Bonham, and my mom just like was really upset, you know. But a year later, she found an audition for what became my first national tour as a paid professional musician at 15 years old. So,
Nice.
like you, I had supportive parents, and that means so much. So why do you think people have a problem with Lars? And I know this is dangerous, Alexis, because I could be opening a can of worms for a bunch of crazy comments, and folks, chime in, but don't be rude about it. Like if you're not a fan of Lars for whatever reason, like I'm just curious, but why do you think that is? Being that you do appreciate him and you do see his talent and you do get him, what is up with people, man?
I, I, I've talked about this with fellow musicians, right, and fellow drummers, and everybody complains about the same things. Oh, he doesn't practice. Oh, he's not creative. Oh, this and that, right? Like you say, people just like finding the little things to not like somebody.
Yeah,
From you, from me, from Lars, it doesn't really matter. It's just human nature, right?
yeah,
Uh, I got no clue, and I guess the fact that he is actually one of the masterminds that have kept metal as as big as it is. Thanks to Metallica, metal exploded in a mainstream for the audience.
yeah.
Nobody can deny that. And
That's
then to second that, the whole Napster thing, which I think that he was the one trying to warn us about how the music industry would change, and everybody went for the throat and said how much more money you want, right? And it's like the guy was right.
yeah,
So I guess his success, it's also why people can't like him and see him for a really smart business guy as well, right?
yes. And you mentioned, one of the reasons is because he doesn't practice. Mike Portnoy told me in one of my interviews with him when I said, so in between tours and recording, like, do you work on your craft? And he says, I don't, if I'm not touring or recording, I don't even look at my drums. I don't even, so it's selective hating, right? I think that's all it is. Yeah.
And that's a very important point because not only at the pro level, right? Because I don't consider myself a professional drummer until I hit it big with a band that keeps me touring, doing 250 shows a year. Right now, I do shows. I produce more than what I play live. I record a lot, right? But in all honesty, to me, I I don't have time to practice, right? Barely I have time sometimes to nap 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
So everything that I did already in my younger years, that was my practice. That's when
Yeah.
I sat down and work on things. Right
Yeah.
now,
You
it's
front
about
loaded it by learning and honing your skills then.
yeah. And it makes sense, or to me it makes sense because the more I get into producing, the more I hear music, the more I play for that music. If the music demands me to be flashy and play complex, I'll do it, right? But
Yeah.
if 95% of the times it doesn't, and guys like Brian Tichy have said it, Nick said it, Thomas Lang have said it. I remember I had the chance to sit with people like Eric Moore, Yo-Yo Mayer at the drum festivals, and they said it.
Ah,
You want to make money, play for the song. You want to make a name for yourself, you got to be a little flashy, right? But if you
yeah.
want to have a gig, you have to learn where and what do you do, right? Because not all the time there's going to be room for the drummer that is
Yeah.
the most amazing drummer in the bar.
You got to exercise the discipline and hold back. The biggest difference between you and I don't practice either, but the biggest difference between you and I in not practicing is that with me it shows. Like when I play, people can tell, oh, that guy doesn't practice. And the audio faded just a little bit on your end. I don't know if something moved, but I'm also just realizing I don't have my hearing aids in. That might help, but I did notice a level change. Yeah, I wear hearing aids, everybody. I'm in my 60s, and after 54 years of playing, I've got a little bit of hearing loss. It's either that or all the kids and grandkids. I'm not sure, but it's I I don't practice. I either play for fun from time to time, or I might get asked to sit in on a gig for fun, or I play on the show. And I don't make I'm so busy with the business part that I don't make time to warm up before the show and this and that, and it probably shows in my playing, but I'm okay with that. I'm not reaching for sessions anymore or gigs or the record deal. I did all that, and I'm happy with. You know what part of it is, honestly? Part of it is, and this is not just an excuse or rationalization, folks. I don't mind if I play rusty and it shows, because I want to encourage other drummers, girls and boys, men and women, to just make freaking videos and put them up and send them in. And don't worry about what people say, and don't be so self conscious. I think you have to make videos and watch yourself as part of improving as well. And the number one thing is to have fun. Even when I suck. I might get upset at first while it's happening, but I'm just like, this is fun. I'd rather be doing this than working some job that I just hate.
Yeah,
My worst day of drumming is better than the best day working at something else. That's the way I look at
yeah, and I I remember when I was at the age where I had to decide what to do school wise, right?
it. Ah,
And again, considering that it, I don't know how it is in the States, but in Canada, there's a possibility for you to do college and do fine in life, right? There's a possibility for you to be an entrepreneur and be fine. That's just how the economy works for Canada. I'm assuming for the States too, but in
yeah,
Mexico it's a little different.
yeah, it
And
is.
in Mexico, there's a big rate of people that graduates university because if you don't, you know, you're not gonna have a decent earning, right? And again, that's just what it is. And I remember when I was about to graduate high school, and like you, I was actually gonna take medicine because I wanted
Oh,
to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a plastic surgeon,
oh, wow.
and I wanted to do it in the army. And my dad, at that time, I was already doing musical theater. I was already doing sessions, but you know, medicine and all that is something that I've always loved. And I did the test for university. I passed them, and at that time, my dad had a little hiccup financially with his work and all that. So my options were very simple. I go and I study in a public university from the state, and that was going to be a free program. Or I could take accounting in another public university, and I, I I'm not good at accounting. But my dad and my oldest brother, they're accountants, so they could help me. Or he sat me down and he said, "Listen, you want to be a musician. You want to be a professional musician one day, right? But you already know how to play, so don't go for music. Don't go for music. Go for business. And
Ah,
if you really want to open up your mind, find something where you can market your talent." And that made a lot of sense to me. So I went for marketing, and then I studied an extra degree in graphic design for branding, right?
oh, wow. I
So
didn't know that. That's awesome.
So my university years were those 2 degrees. Um, and again, the problem was that that was a private university, so I had to do more sessions to pay for the university, and then I got little better gigs at musical theater, subbing in for people. So my chops were really good, right? And my grades weren't. But since I had a vision and I knew what I wanted, I was always paying attention. So by the time I graduated, I knew that I was fairly decent in advertisement. I was fairly decent in branding, and I was already working for a well-known marketing agency back home. But that's when I decided that I needed to get out of Mexico. And at the time, my original band, Inner Turbulence, it was 4 of us. It was guitar player, singer, 2 bass players, and me. That's the
Two
track
bass
that,
players?
yeah, that's the track that you played
Yeah,
that I sent for Shredders. It's two
yeah.
bass players there, right? So we decided to move. We didn't know where. A friend of ours was here in Toronto, and he said Toronto is great for metal. Big lie. We didn't know, but he didn't know, right? So we moved here, 2 of us, and the other two stayed in Mexico solving some family problems. Canada establishes visa for Mexicans to move in here, and they never made it. The other guy, as soon as winter hit, he went back home, and I decided to stay.
Interesting. What a path. Wow. And are your parents, if you don't mind me asking, are your parents still around?
My mom is. She lives in Mexico. I lost my dad last year.
Okay, sorry to hear that. It sounds like they supported you, and as they watched you go through these metamorphoses, did they were they proud of you? Did they like it, or did they wish you became an accountant or a surgeon?
Um, my dad supported me, but he was very objective,
Uh huh.
right? He always said, as long as you can live your life, be happy, and afford a life to be happy, you know, you should be good.
Yeah.
My mom, on the other side, when I decided not to go for medicine in university, she hated me for a year. Didn't talk to me. She was so mad at me,
Oh.
right?
Wow.
And to the point where one time, and again, we already talked about it, and different generation and all that, right? So she
Yeah.
one time just let it all out, and she's like, "Oh, to me, you're a bum." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay,
Wow.
right." So eventually, part of what I did, and what has taken me here, it's been always that culture in my house of whatever you do, be the best, right? Aim for the
Yeah.
best. Always do your always put in the time. Be respectful with what you do. Apply yourself. And I remember in 2013, I could fly my mom and dad here to Canada to watch a show that I performed at a venue here
Uh
called the
huh.
Opera House, iconic venue. And at the time I had an investor from a music store that is called Long McQuaid. I'm going to do a little advertisement here, right?
Yeah.
That person is John Long. He's not around anymore, sadly, but he was my second dad, my Canadian dad, while I was here and my parents were back home, right?
Oh
So he
wow.
supported me a lot, and we celebrated 25 years of hard drumming. That's the name of the show, and it was all
Oh
of the bands that I used to play back then. It was 10 bands, 6 hours of drumming, two drum kits, and just one drummer. So it was pretty cool.
wow. That sounds fun. Absolutely. I want to show one more video. Let me pull this up, folks. This one is. Whoops. Let me go back to the right window. Hold on, folks. I think it's in this spot. Give me one sec. I want you to see more of Alexis is playing. Oh no, we saw that already. Well, you know what? I'm going to play some more of this other one. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on one sec. And because this is a much longer video than than what we played. Wow, where did it go? That's bizarre. Hold on. Someone that knows what they're doing will be right with you. Here it is. Okay, actually, I'm going to play some of this one. Hold on. This one's really cool. This is called. Let me just stop it from playing automatically. The cold numbs my hands, and for drummers, that's not always a good thing. So check this one out. Here we go. I love that groove right there. That is so cool. Give a shout out to your gear. I know you're a Pearl guy. Let's talk about your gear. What do you like to use? The shells. What are your heads? Your cymbals? Give them some pub.
Yeah, I'm a Pearl guy. I've always loved the brand. I've always loved their products, and even when I was growing up, friends of mine used to have the old exports, and to me, they were the coolest drums, right? And then as I started growing up and having more experience, I realized that they were better series than exports, and they just got cooler and cooler.
Yeah.
And I started my relationship with Pearl drums after Shredders of Metal.
Right.
Right? Big shout to Peter here in Canada, the rep, because he's an amazing guy, has supported me a lot, and he pampers me. So I'm with Pearl for drums. I'm with Gator touring cases. I'm with Los Cabos, Canadian company from Drumsticks. They made my sticks. It's a custom stick, white with my signature on it. Um, Heads, I use Evans drum heads, which again here the Adario reps are a beautiful family. Larry, I love the guy. He also pampers me a lot. Uh, with cymbals, I'm not officially, but I was with Siljan officially, and somehow something happened that I'm still working on getting my rec- recognition back from them, because
Yeah.
my dad was a Siljan guy, and that's why I'm a Siljan guy.
Ah, gotcha.
I know the other brands are great. I've used them as backline and whatnot, but honestly, I don't know why. I really love the brand, right? So I'm a hardcore Siljan user and abuser. Um, Pedals, I like my Pearl Demon drives,
Cool.
and clothing, Death Run, which is a biker clothing company,
Yeah.
Souls of Rock as well, and I think that's pretty much it for the gear I use.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. What do you have going on? What can people look forward to?
Right now, what do I have going on? I have quite a few things. These days, I'm working on an album with an Italian composer, Alberto Massoni,
Mhm.
and it's he invited me, and it's not the first project I've done with him, but this time we're doing an album with Baron. I cannot even pronounce his last name, but Baron is the bass player for Michael Schenker, right?
Mm,
And he was with Blind Guardian, and I know there's more people there to be confirmed, so we're doing that album. Operus right now. We came back from a couple big festivals in Mexico. We are working on the new album.
great.
Uh, it's still on the writing period this year. We're trying to take it a little easier and releasing material from last year, which was our live year, right?
Yeah.
War Machine, I love those guys. I really love those guys. They're so fun. But there's new material coming, already written, right? That's Joe DiTaranto's project. So he has the songs written. We're gonna start pre-production at some point, but there's no date yet. And I'm working on releasing songs from my own creation, which I still don't know what am I gonna do, if I'm gonna release them as a band or as my solo project, or what am I gonna do. But I play every instrument in that
Oh,
album,
nice. That's awesome.
and producing projects and artists, and that's what I spend my time on.
That's awesome. You sound nice and busy. I love that. Cool. So before we go, I have one last segment, and this is called the Alexis Von Kraven Skullhead Fun Fact segment. And
All
this is
right.
where I'm going to ask what you like to do. It's like the peek behind the curtain, Alexis. You've probably seen me do this. What do you like to do when you're not doing all that stuff you just mentioned? You're not touring, you're not producing, you're not writing, you're not recording. What do you like to do aside from that? And if I may be so forward to ask, since this is a peek behind the curtain, do you want to reveal the real Alexis without the mask so people can see how handsome you are? I love it.
There's got to be mystique, right? Yeah, my face is not a secret, but you
That's a
know,
fun way to put it. That's true.
add me on social media, you'll see my real
Yeah,
face, right?
yeah. Great.
Um,
What do you like to do when you're away from all of that?
I like to do many things, but sadly, I don't have that much time. What do I like to do? And
Oh wow, it happened to just freeze right there. Hold on a
oh,
sec. Okay, there, you're back. It froze for a second there. What do you like to do? Oh wow, of all times for it to freeze, this is crazy. We're just about to get the big secret of what Alexis Von Kraven likes to do when he's totally away from music, and it's frozen on, at least on my end. I see that it's frozen. Um, if
I
you can,
can't hear you,
yeah,
Dan.
now I hear you. I hear you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, besides family, I again, things that I like, I would like to do a little bit more of them. I
Yeah.
like motorcycles. I like playing airsoft. I
Cool.
love and try to do as much as I can to watch cartoons. All
Awesome.
right.
What's your favorite cartoon?
Oof, good
You get
one.
one. Pick one. What
Uh,
is? You're stuck on an island. You get.
DuckTales.
Oh, really? Wow, that's cool.
And
Nice.
actually, you know what? Favorite cartoon, Animaniacs. That's my all-time favorite.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Cool.
Uh,
Now, you mentioned motorcycles. Are you a street guy, or do you like motocross, trail riding, stuff like that as well?
I like my cruisers. Yeah,
Cool. Awesome.
that's 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 what I really enjoy. Just like you know, just go with the wind, and I have to have my hands like this. It has to be here. It cannot do this. It has to be here as higher as I can. You
Oh,
know.
really? Nice. Cool. I've ridden in the street like a handful of times, years and years and years ago. I'm more of an off-roading motorcycle guy, and not far from where we live, about literally a mile maybe, there's an off-roading track with picnic grounds and stuff. And between my house and that place, there's this guy that sells used motorcycles of all kinds, and he's got a ton of motocross bikes like I used to race and stuff. And I'm tempted. I'm tempted. I don't know if I have anybody up here to ride with though, and I don't want to go alone.
That's
But I used
that
to ride a lot when I was young.
that's important because again, probably I cannot find my time to write because I would have to do it alone. And when you have someone that is like, hey, let's go, you go, right?
Yeah, yeah, a writing buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much for sharing that peek behind the curtain. We'll definitely do this again. You stay so busy. Keep me up to date with what you're up to. You're welcome to come on anytime. I'd love to get a video tour of one of your kits. That would be awesome. That would totally be cool. And I think the signal's getting a little wonky again, and that either I or Alexis are frozen. We'll see if his
I
signal comes. Oh, there you are. I hear
I
you.
can still hear you. I see you fine.
Okay, cool. And we're getting a shout out from Ontario, Yanni Lawyer. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Yanni, from uh, Sudbury, Ontario, and Slash says hello. Both of them watching us on YouTube. Very cool. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, you could learn more about Alex Von Kraven. Tell us where they can find you on social media, Alexis. And it's going to be tagged in the post after it archives. But Alexis, where can they find you?
My main profiles are Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as Alexis Von Kraven, just my name, right? Email my name at gmail.com. Again, hit me up for sessions, hit me up for touring. I'm there. I love doing that. I don't do X, Twitter, whatever now it's called. It's just too much, right? So
Yeah.
with those three, you're gonna find me no problem. If you want to connect with me, Instagram and Facebook, guaranteed.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks. Hang out with me for a moment after I say goodbye to the audience. And the audience, thank you so much for following what we do on Drum Talk TV. Thank you for joining Alexis Von Kraven, aka Skullhead, with me here on Drum Talk TV. And remember to check out our membership site. Lots of stuff going on there at drumtalktv.com. Brilliant. Sorry, it's drumtalktvbrilliance.com. drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Check it out. Thanks, everybody, so much. We will see you soon with more interviews. We have Lenny White coming up, legendary Lenny White. We have so many other interviews over the next month and a half. Scheduling again with Terry Lynn Carrington and a bunch of others. So just pay attention and you'll find out what's happening. Thanks, everybody. See you.